baby. Ooh, the bubbles.
Ooh, the citrus. Ugh. It's like slice mixed with beer. So,
oh God, you sound like Mr.
guys.
Combo right now. Just
Hey guys, welcome to episode 80 of CMD Towers, Brews, and Builds. I'm Big Tuck, and my fellow host, Mr. Combo number 5, is getting his feet cleaned by Mr. Cremoras in Cabo. He decided to go on vacation, and if you follow his personal Instagram, you can find right here at bit.com. So unfortunately, he isn't joining us here today, but all is well in the multiverse because we have our favorite foreign correspondent joining in from the north. We got the one, the only, the beautiful bald man, just like myself, Mr. Bevers, on the show today.
Oh, hey there, hi there, ho there, friends.
oh yes, of course.
Yeah,
you gotta hit us with that one early.
2 score boots.
Yeah, you wanna take her outside, eh? And let's just crack some beers and go out for a rip, eh?
The best part is you sound exactly like the Commander Cookout guys with that voice. Dead on. Mr. Bevers, thank you so much for joining and being tortured by the CMD Tower crew, as always. How are you doing today, sir? How's your life going?
I'm doing really well. When we recorded this, I was off work that day, so I got a lot of stuff done. I've been filming a lot of episodes of my Cracking for a Cause lately. I still need to get Squee on that at some point.
Yeah, I need to do that. I tell you, I've been on some type of hiatus. Work has been.
Tuck, you want to do it too? I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have packs right over there that I'm just waiting for a rainy day to crack.
All right, well, sweet. We're gonna do it. I'm taking this right here. All of you out there, in the collective, in the collective land, you've all heard it. They are now both. Yep.
Committed.
What is that?
Committed.
Yes. Is that the word? That wasn't the word I was going to use, but okay, we'll go with it.
Committed.
Whatever you want to insert term.
Yeah, but good. So I thought you'd get kicked out of this. I've had one of the most American weeks, I think, in my recent history. So on Sunday, I bought a compound bow.
Yep.
On Tuesday, I bought a gun.
Right.
And on Wednesday, I bought an SUV.
And you didn't get ID'd for all 3 of them, I'm sure.
Wow.
And all of them were equally easy to do.
Did you also blow anything up in between?
I did not,
man.
But I did have a chicken sandwich and a steak this week.
To go on top of your Americanism, can you tell us what was built into the SUV that you bought?
Oh yeah, good, yeah. So also because it doesn't consume enough gas, it has a throttle control that you can override its presets and be able to open up the throttle even further.
Oh dear.
So it's a pretty slick truck.
So instead of your car starting and going, it goes.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. But so what's been new magic wise with you? Have you built any decks? Have you sorted any collections? Found your pot of gold?
Oh, man.
What's going on in that land in that area?
For me, it's probably like I actually just finished reorganizing my high-end binders that I keep.
Ooh.
So like I actually
that
went.
Sounds like fun. That sounds like
it's
fun.
been a while since I've gone through it and like properly priced things again and all that kind of stuff. So I actually keep all of my cards in colored binders based on their color, right? So like I have one for Wooburg, and then I color code them by sleeves. So anything that's $5 or less is in a red sleeve. Anything that is $5 to $10 in a green sleeve. Anything that's more than 10 is in a blue sleeve. I can guarantee you,
if you looked at my card collection, you would have a panic attack.
No, it'd be fine. I'd probably
it's a disaster.
So I'd probably be like, why don't you have some of these cards?
There's some on the floor right over here.
But that's okay. I mean, like, look, you can see them on my desk. I mean, you can see they're just piled up.
Maybe those boxes of stuff behind you, behind the green screen.
There you go. Yeah, there's just some on the floor there. It's perfect.
But good. Well, we're glad to have you here. And also, thanks everyone for turning in the episode. And as always, with the Manolith commentary from the Rich Chaos Record Studio right here in beautiful Kansas City, Kansas, we have Squee McGee.
What's up? It's Squeegee McGeegee. Pretty excited to be here today. I actually get to make some picks, some cuts.
Yeah.
Be filling in for Mr. Combo's big shoes. So just know it's all going to be jank, and there won't be no combos if ever possible.
I think you and Mr. Combo have the same size shoe, don't you?
I think we all do almost. Which is kind of funny because I weigh like 100 pounds less than both of you. And I'm shorter than both of you, but I have freakishly large hands and freakishly large feet for some reason.
I don't know if it's like in my old age or what, but my feet have gotten bigger in the last like year and a half. It's either that my feet have gotten bigger, they have drastically reduced the size of normal size shoes I get, or, which is a conspiracy that I'm willing to investigate, or I have like the worst case of gout that anyone has ever had, and I can still like walk around normally on like Commander Smith Lowry.
Your feet are just swelling so much that you don't even notice that they're swollen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
That just tells me, Tuck, you are, as I always assumed, impervious to pain.
It's
there it is.
I thought about it. I've gotten several cavities replaced without any sort of anesthesia.
You bought an SUV,
I like
didn't cause any pain.
better.
Yeah, exactly. I've had glasses broken over my head when I was a bouncer. So I've lived a sporting life.
Colorful life is what I would call it, but yes, all right.
Yeah. But if you also want to know ways to support CMD Tower and my future medical bills, and all the other ways, all the other content that we put out there, head over to our sponsor, level1gameshop.com, right here in Kansas City, Missouri. They sell magic accessories like the sweet exclusive CMD Tower playmat and Matt 100 pack sleeves. They also sell magic singles, all sorts of board games, everything there. If you're kind of new to board games and you need someone to kind of select them and show you around and kind of find one for you, they're really, really helpful with that. They have a sweet TCG player store with over 99% accuracy rating and super competitive prices. The last I saw, I think they had the cheapest Shadow Spears in the Kansas City metro area. So if you're looking to pick those up, which you should,
stop it. Just leave it alone.
So head over there. They've been a great partner and continue to be so. Another way to support the show is to head over to our Patreon. It's patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different pledge levels, and the rewards vary from just getting access to the sweet Discord, which has been en fuego recently. Mr. Bevers has posted in it. He's had a few colorful jabs there. Always feels good when you get called out on that. Or you can get your own set of CMD Tower playmat, sleeves, and accessories. Also, if you want to, you can head over to our web store, cmdtower.com/merch. If you can't afford or don't want to contribute to the Patreon, you can go ahead and pick up things there if you just want individual items. The free way to help us out, which we always appreciate, is to share the content you're listening to, rate us, subscribe, tell your friends. Every little bit of interaction from the collective helps, even if it is that Big Talk sucks, in which case you can go ahead and suck it yourself. A couple more shout outs here. So we have a big shout out to our video producer, T Coates. He's been doing a great job in getting those YouTube videos up, so check them out there. Also, the music provided in this episode is still provided by the band Pink Royal. RIP ? I don't know.
Look, I recorded some songs of theirs that still haven't come out. They don't play anymore, but there is unheard material. We'll just throw that out in the ether.
It's like the Lost album from Nirvana, that kind of level there. And of course, stay tuned till the end of the show to get details on how you can win the new giveaway from Level 1. So, Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, we've moved on to the endless themes that EDH can bring us. Each month will be a new theme, and we correlate how those decks are constructed to similar how a beer is brewed. We broke it down into 4 categories. The first is ramp and setting your board state, and we correlate that to a grain bill. Grains are the foundations of a beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually about a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp in your bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards. We then talk about how your board interacts with the rest of the board and the opponents, and we correlate that to a hop. A hop is the herb that gives the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strands, smoke up, and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can do ultimately what it wants. And then we talk about how the deck actually closes out the game, which this deck pretty much does straight out of the gates with the commander, and we correlate that to yeast. And yeast are living, breathing microorganisms. They eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. That's the alcohol content and carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water, and without yeast cards, your deck would meet the goal of actually winning the game. Then we have shenanigans, pet cards, strategies. Mr. Bevers took some very, very large liberties with this section, but we love him all the same for it.
I have some words on this section.
Yeah, and we call that the spice package. And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It can be the pepper that turns a stout into a jalapeno stout, or the addition of hops that turn an IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it. And then finally, we cap off the episode with, you guessed it, redundancy, the bottle capping. And that's where me, Squee McGee, and Mr. Bevers go through and find three cards.
Squee McGee, Mr. Bevers, and I. This is probably.
Did I say me?
Sir. You did.
I should just say Big Tuck, or the Tuck Master, or the Suck It King, or the Slimy One, or perhaps the Blasted Bastard.
Can you please change your Twitter to the Suck It King? I want to see where that goes.
I feel like that's an immediate ban. But anyways, we're gonna cap off this episode with the bottle capping, where we talk about cuts where they're under $5, under $50, and our personal recommendation. As always, there's no mana only lands. So this is a momentous occasion, ladies and germs, cats and kittens, lords and ladies.
Do it!
We are starting a new theme this month, and Mr. Bevers is starting off with us.
All right.
Love it.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
I don't agree. I think you know what you're doing.
I actually completely forgot this is a new month until right this minute, so it's exciting. So we have moved away from cards that really, and decks that really rely on the commanders, to decks that really rely on their commanders, but in a different way. So this month, we are digging right into Voltron commanders.
Yeah. All right.
It sounds like we're just doing a 2-month segment. I love it.
Yeah, and that very well may be. And peeling behind the curtains here, me and Mr. Combo sat down, had a couple of drinks, maybe a couple of Jimmy Pops off the hookah, and tried to think through these themes. And not all of them are going to be slam dunks. However, this month sure is. So for those who don't know, Voltron decks are generally ones that win in the red zone with their commander. They deal a lot with commander damage, extra combats, that sort of thing. They're usually kind of fast, aggressive, and just kind of play a little different than a lot of decks now. I think Voltron's really kind of had their day in the sun a few years ago, and I think they're slowly kind of being sorted out, but there's still a few left. And boy, are we graced with one. We have a deck here that is probably one of the originals and still one of the greats by Mr. Bevers. Listen, Mr. Bevers is a meticulous man, knows the game inside and out, and I just got to say that he really put a lot of effort into this deck title. Because today we are talking about the deck Uril.
That's right. That's right.
That may or may not stand for just the first word in the card.
It is, in fact, it's just Uril. So, Mr. Bevers, why don't we read through the commander? It is, of course, Uril the Miststalker.
That's right.
Why don't you read through his converted mana cost, his abilities, maybe have a goofy voice for his flavor text, and
see
all
how that goes.
Stuff.
Yeah, sure. So, Uril the Miststalker. 2 generic, red, green, white for its
I like
cost.
generic. That's nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Then it says Uril, the Mistwalker, can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control, and Uril gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. It strides through the white. What is that? White cover?
White cover.
White cover. It's very hard to read. So mists in which even gargantuans can hide.
Ooh. Yes.
I just came up with a name for this deck. Because it sounds like Earl, and there's a TV show, we need to name it. My name is Earl.
My name is Earl. That's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Here, I'll edit it right now.
Nice, thank you. So it is. My name is Earl. Love it. So yes, and for those who are playing the home game, it has been errated to hexproof. So if there are abilities and spells that say remove hexproof from creatures your opponent's controls, those do work. I got in a screaming argument with John Coltrane Colhane at my former place of employment at October.
I've never known you to shout.
Yeah, well, I know. It's hard to believe, right? So Mr. Bevers, how did this deck come into existence? Give us like the little history, the 10,000 foot view of this deck.
So I mean, like, okay, so you know this as much as I do, yes, probably at this point, but I actually got this deck from someone who I bought a collection from. So that's how it came into my possession. Okay. And I have unedited it. This is exactly how it arrived in.
Yeah.
So you could call this a precon.
To me, it's a precon. That is correct.
Yeah.
So this came from one of actually an old YouTuber who I don't believe does YouTube anymore. Stubborn Salmon. He was an MTG Unpack or a pack cracker.
Fantastic name.
And he and I got into a lot of box battles together back in the day, and then he got out of the game and sold his collection to me. So I purchased it from him, and that's sort of where it came from. So I've only played it like 3 times myself. And I haven't tried to tune it up or anything like that. But when you asked me to come on this segment and asked if I had a VOLTRON commander, I was like, well, I technically do. You're right. I do have one. And have I done anything to fix it up or change it in any way? No, of course not. Did I know what everything was that was in the deck? No, not at the time. And then when I put it all into Tapped Out and was reading it all, I was like, there's some stuff in here that I would change.
But I'm not a fan. So you've played it a few times, right? How do you kind of feel about it? How's it played for you?
It is slow.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, so the thing that like what you mentioned is like a lot of VOLTRON decks will come out real fast and real swingy. Right. This deck definitely lacking some grains to get it going. Mm-hmm. So it definitely needs a little bit more. You
don't only have 14.
Correct. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like it definitely needs a little bit more like love in that section. And I mean, like you're saying I have 14, but like a few of those things in that section are probably maybe not what you would call a grain. And I only stuck them there because it just sort of is more of like an even it out kind of thing. Like it evens out the deck a little bit, but it doesn't necessarily ramp you, right? If that's what we're looking at.
Right. So if we're looking through this, the curve, which is interesting because I think to your point with having a 5-drop commander can be hard. The curve is like 2.9, which I feel is pretty good for kind of tuning this up. The price of the deck about 220 to 275, so right in that kind of budget range. It seems like it seems kind of on the nose there. The only thing I have out the gates is it seems to me that the mana might need to be moved around a little bit because it seems like you're lacking a little white
to add up here. We got a lot of white costs and a lot of red mana going on.
But that makes sense if I feel, and also looking through this to your point, I kind of feel that there is, if this was a deck that was built in 2016, 2017, 2018, it probably would have been a beast, right? Mm-hmm. It reads kind of like a battle cruiser sort of.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I played against a fair amount of these, and some of them come out screaming, some of them come out a little slower, and this one, obviously reads that. But I'm looking through it, and I kind of thought that I would be able to find a fair amount of cards that would be easy conclusions to it, but it actually does have a lot of the kind of Uril standards and staples, if you will.
Right, of course.
I do have a point as well. So I'm looking on Tapped Out right now, and this is listed as 92% casual. I think it's better than that. That being said, I'm going to go hashtag GameStop here because there is a vote button that you can do on Tapped Out. So Collective, pip this thing up. Go and hit more competitive every single time. We're going to get this thing to like 90% competitive just off voting alone. It's going to be great. We're going to slide the market. Everybody's going to be confused. Nobody's going to know what's going on. And then we're moving on to Architect next, which sucks. So let's do that.
So it's exciting that you got this deck and they get to play it, but now that maybe we go through it, we can talk a little bit about the aspects of it and where there might be some single points of failure. So we're going to start out with the grain. So I'll start this off. And a card, there wasn't a whole lot of ones in here that are really super unique, but there was there's 2 that I thought that were kind of cool and are kind of staples. So this card is a centaur that may be carrying a banner.
Yeah.
Are we doing this?
I guess so.
Oh, I think we're right out of the gate. I think we're doing this.
Right out of the gates. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Herald of the Pantheon.
Yeah!
All right. First turn, baby. First turn.
Herald of the Pantheon is a colorless and green. It's a creature, Centaur Shaman. It's a rare. It's a 2/2.
Yeah.
And then you got to read the rest of it.
All right.
Which normally I have to get punished for because I'm not wearing my glasses.
So enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast an enchantment spell, gain 1 life. This card is amazing.
Yes,
for
it's
stabilization.
really good. Yeah, it's
And it's
awesome.
only $1.13. That's good.
But also, there's some. I guess there's this. The distinction of bearing the god's banner is nothing compared to the glory of being closer to Nyx.
Very good. Very good. Very regal. Yes, so I completely agree with you as well. I think that in a lot of builds, people say that the cast enchantment spell isn't significant, the gaining life. But in a lot of Uril builds that I've seen, you're casting a lot of 1-drops, a lot of 2-drops, a lot of art, a lot of enchantments, a lot of wild growths, that sort of thing.
Yep.
And I think that does start stacking up over time because and correct me if I'm wrong, but when I've seen this played, people kind of play this deck once and then people kind of figure it out and start chipping in early to get their life totals down.
Yep.
So Herald being a good blocker on curve for 2, making everything else in the deck cost 1 less and gives you that incremental life gain seems to be pretty solid for a card in the 2 slot.
Yeah, I like that they gave you 2 abilities for it, too. Because say it was just the enchantments cost 1 less, or just you cast an enchantment, you gain 1 life. Fine card overall, but now that they put both of those onto a creature, too, that is not expensive to play. So kind of like you talked about earlier, this deck can tend to be a little bit slow out the gates. This isn't going to bog you down. 2 mana, get this onto the board, and then you're ramping straight off of that.
I mean, if you can play this,
100% value.
Yeah, if you can play this on turn 2 in any game, you're laughing at that point, right?
Oh, you see this in your opening hand and you go, yeah, keeping that one.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you have all mountains in your hand, and then maybe not.
Well, that doesn't quite get you there. All right, well, again, pretty straightforward. Mr. Big Squee.
Yeah, it's Mr. Big Squee, sir.
What is your first pick?
All right, so I wanted to talk about a card. It's an elf, that's how I do.
Sure, of course.
It's a creature, and it's criminally underpriced compared to its counterpart. So I'm talking Druid of the Anima.
Oh, I thought you'd get sucked into this. This
card's under $1. It's 2 colorless, a colorless and a green creature elf druid. It's a common, and it taps for a green, a red, and a white.
Is the card blank after that, or is there more?
There is some flavor text that is horrifically confusing. Although the Anima herself remains at the Sacralum, her druids roam Naya, collecting mana bonds with every location in the world. They put too many commas in that sentence. It doesn't make sense.
Naya not gonna like that flavor text.
Yeah, that flavor text can get the out of here.
Yeah, that's what we in the industry call a sweaty bit, Mr. Bevers.
All right, so what I was getting at, though, this card taps for 3 different colors of mana as an elf. It's 1 more mana other than Noble Hierarch, but it's $12 cheaper than that card.
Yeah,
I don't understand. This is a great ramp card. If you're playing those 3 colors, this thing should be worth way more money than that. The only reason I think Noble Hierarch is more expensive because it has blue in it, and because it's
a 1-drop.
It's a
1-drop, sure, but...
And it has Exalted, right? Doesn't it have Exalted on it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exalted would be great.
Don't forget that.
Exalted's cool.
You're going to totally swing with that one.
Right.
One.
Yeah, that is a wasted ability on Noble Hierarch.
But
I think it's only the color. And Noble Hierarch's a 0/1 to boot, so it can't do anything. You're not swinging with it. Good luck. Enjoy. I think this card's great. I think it's criminally undervalued at 80 cents, 70. No, it might be in the 26 cents range.
Yeah,
it says 25 cents.
I think it's a gumball, as some people call it.
Yes. Yeah, if you're running a deck in these colors, slam dunk, absolutely. Grab it. Ignore the flavor text. Flavor text sucks. Maybe that's why it's not worth any money because people think it's lame.
That's the only reason why. It's too much. Nice. Well, yeah, agreed there. Mr. Bevers, any comments on the Druid?
I think it's fine. It's a fine card. I don't think it's going to make or break the deck. No. It doesn't necessarily do as much as the Herald does, obviously. Right. But
let's say you draw this in your opening hand, you're going to feel pretty good.
Yeah,
You got a couple of lands, you play this, and then you can tap for any color you need.
Yep.
You can mana fix yourself with this card. It's a ramp spell at the same time,
Correct.
It's essentially a 2-mana creature ramp.
It's a solid grain for the deck, right? That's for sure,
exactly.
right? Like
exactly.
It's definitely not a specialty one. And of course, it's an elf, so Mr. Squee had to talk about it. Okay, perfect. So moving right along.
Mr. Big Squee, sir. Mr. Big Squee.
I am going to go to not an elf, but a dwarf. That is, I think, one of the best white cards ever printed. Obviously a slam dunk in this deck, and he is just completely strong. So I am talking about our old pal. Are we doing this again? Oh, okay. I'm talking about Saram, Senior Edificer. So colorless and a white, 2/2 legendary creature, dwarf advisor. It is a rare, originally from Kaladesh. I think it got reprinted in Commander Legends. It's a 2/2. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, draw a card. As this conflict grows, it gets harder to prevent the city from breaking down. How much longer can we keep this machinery balanced? So, this card is just an all-star. It's probably... I kind of am in the boat that it's one of the best white ramp spells that have ever been printed. Most decks that you put it in are going to be playing auras and equipments. He makes a good mono white commander. He's just completely bonkers, out of control. The equipment sub theme in this deck doesn't do as much, but again, if you're playing this as you should be, in my opinion, you're playing a lot of low cost auras, whether it's the enchant lands, the 1-drops that go onto Uril, those sort of things, and those are all really worth their money. Him being a 2-drop, I think I also think that he's one of those cards that's really good, but your opponents aren't likely to waste a spell on it.
I agree with you there, and I actually have a question now that I'm looking at this card, because its effects are really, really good. And we talked about this on the news a couple weeks ago, where I thought that white was a great add-in color to a lot of different powerful combinations, because there's so many cards, enchantments, auras, creatures that are super impactful, but if you're playing mono white, they can't help you. Do you both think this card would be more expensive if it was an enchantment instead of a creature? A 2-drop enchantment.
For 2? Oh, yeah.
If this was a 2-drop enchantment instead of a creature that does the exact same effect, it would be way more expensive. I think this card would be
$20.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because enchantments are much harder to deal with, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, the effects on this card are mind-boggling. It's wonderful.
How many enchantments do we have in Magic that are legendary enchantments these days? There's not a lot. There's some, but there's not a lot.
Lias and those type of cards.
But those are artifacts, right?
Enchantments. They're legendary artifact enchantments, so I guess they technically count. But they're not straight enchantments.
The sagas all count as well, right?
Correct. The sagas, yes, for sure.
Suck.
Yeah, but I don't think there's that many that are just straight up legendary
that's what I'm saying.
enchantments.
It's like you have to probably make this a legendary enchantment, is what I'm getting at, because otherwise you'd have 4 in play or whatever nonsense in whatever standard format it comes out, and that's just absurd.
I think the biggest ones that we're missing are the Hondens.
Oh yeah, the shrines. The shrines are all legendary. Sure.
Cool. Well, yeah, but like I said, SRAM, not a whole lot that needs to be talked about there. Just a complete powerhouse in this deck and other ones.
So I was very curious about putting this in the grain section, because it does give you card draw, right? Which is in my opinion stabilization, which is what your grains are looking for.
Right.
But I also was thinking like, well, it doesn't really help you necessarily with your ramping, but it does from the aspect of drawing cards. I guess it gets you there, but like
it does, yeah.
I think, and especially in Naya, I think when I've seen people play Uril, they like, when I've seen even ones that are tuned, they're like, okay, awesome, like ramp, commander, enchantment,
yep.
Swords to Plowshares. I have 2 cards in hand. One is a land, one is an artifact.
Yeah.
No, I think you nailed it on this card, because you're drawing cards, you're drawing more enchantments, and I could easily see this deck if you're not drawing cards where you don't have anything left to play. So you played a couple of 1-drop, 2-drop enchantments, you got your creature onto the board. You're going to stall out after that.
Yep.
And you need to ramp, and you need to keep drawing cards, to keep playing gas, to keep going. So, I do see this. I think you put it in the right spot.
Agreed.
Okay, good.
All right, Mr. Big Squee, your second grain card.
All right, now let's talk about a green card that I don't think you put in the red spot.
All right,
I'm talking about an enchantment. It's white, costs 5. It's no common.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's Sphere of Safety. So I can't understand why this is a hops to me 100%, but so it reads, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control. I think this is a board interaction card.
Wait, Mr. Squee, I don't have my glasses on. Is there more on that card? Is there something else?
There could be. There could be something else on that card that would be involved as flavor text.
Okay, I just couldn't.
The Rakdos believe all are eager join their revels, even when told otherwise. That's still lame. Like, all my flavor text sucks today. Sorry, y'all.
I like it because I like the Rakdos. Continue, please.
Anyways, I think this is a hops card. That being said, I will give you a slight pass here because this will buy you time to build up your board state. So, while it is interacting with other people's boards, it is kind of in your grain section where you need it to put your auras, your enchantments, get your commander out and build that up. All of that aside, I think this card is phenomenal. It's a little bit more expensive than your Ghostly Prisons, your propaganda effects, but it is way worse than both of those in a deck like this. Because you're paying for each goddamn creature, I would assume, with this deck, between 3 and 6 mana per, you know?
Yeah.
And at late game,
longer.
6 to 8 mana per, like, it could be ugly.
So, I mean, like, for me, every time I've played this deck or played a deck that runs Sphere of Safety, it's always a destroy on sight. As soon as you see the sphere hit the table, you have to get rid of it. If you don't, that person will not be being attacked at all ever for the rest of the game.
You're just sitting there having a great time.
Yeah. And so the reason I put it in the grains, like you said, is more so because every time I've played it with this deck, it's been more so to just essentially stop people from chipping away at my life total, like Tuck said people do. Because they do. They see Uril and they go, I'm just going to keep poking you for 2 every turn. 3, 4, here we go. Just little pokes
and
and damage.
15
and you're like, oh, I'm going to die momentarily here before I can even get my commander online with some VOLTRON nonsense.
Yeah. So I like this card a lot. It's a slam dunk. It's not super expensive. I think it's a wonderful card. The 5's a little bit, I wouldn't say overcosted, but I think it's well costed. I think it's well costed. Like you need to get this out probably mid to late game. If you got this on turn 1 or 2, then everybody can just go home.
Well, and the real important thing is it protects the one planeswalker that you have in this deck. So that clause on this is really important. All right, Mr. Bevs, take us home here. What's your last grain card?
So mine is just one that I like in general that I put in here. It's an artifact, of course. And it has sort of like it sheds light on the deck. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
And that is, of course, the Chromatic Lantern.
Yes, of course.
Because this just fixes your mana and gives you another land or another mana source, and it only costs 3 to play. So like this is just a solid like ramp / mana fix on turn 3. If you can play this on turn 2 sometimes, right, if you get lucky, then like you're just laughing. You're laughing because it's just such a good card for evening out the colors. And like you said, I mean, the deck at the beginning of this, you mentioned that there's maybe a little heavy on the red sources. This turns those red sources into other colors if you need them, right? Like so, you know, it at least helps in that sense. So that's why I put it there, because I think it's just such a really good card. I guess I missed the flavor text, so you need me to read it. Is that what you're saying here? That's what you're getting at. I can see Tuck giving me the head nod. He's like, yeah, all right, come on, man, what are you doing? Okay, so it's a 3 mana artifact that says Chromatic Lantern, and it's lands you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color, and then it itself taps to add 1 mana of any color. And it says, by guild's tradition, any puddle of multicolored light on the cobblestones can serve as neutral ground.
Beautiful.
That's decent flavor text. Decent.
We're also really big on a bit here where we talk about how this card is just a better manolith.
I do have something to say about that, because Chuck the Slice did errad this card. Send it to me, and I have to unfortunately let you know that Chromatic Lantern is manolith.
with the Chuck the Slice errata. Yeah.
So Mr. Bevers, Chuck the Slice as a what was that? A Christmas present? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a Christmas present sent me a Chromatic Lantern with in Sharpie crossed out the Chromatic Lantern, wrote Manolith, crossed out the entire first ability of it and all the flavor text. And just left it as a 3-drop that taps for any color. It was
incredible.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, as Chuck the Slice has said, this doesn't turn your lands into any color. It's just a mana rock for 3. Turns out to be a Manolith, which, if you ask me, pretty phenomenal.
But I mean, like, you should be happy here because I mean there is no Burnish Tard running in this deck, right? So
no, I am over the moon about that.
Yeah,
in fact,
then
had you put a Burnish Tart in here, which I know that you didn't build this deck, but had there been one, said creator of this
there
deck,
would have been words.
We would go into whatever Ron Burgundy called a fisticuffs. We're gonna have a moment.
That's right.
They're gonna be on notice. All right, perfect. Well,
for the collective, I have to get this out. That card fucking sucks. That's it.
Chromatic Lantern?
No, Burnish Tart.
Oh,
that's it. I had my outburst. It's over. I've calmed down. I'm back to a normal level. I'm gonna open a beer. Just gonna sit back, relax, breathe normally.
Well, don't take too long because we're gonna go right into the hop section now and talk about cards that interact with the board and your opponents. Mr. Squee, you are on deck, sir. What is your first card in the hop section?
All right. So my first hop. We're talking Flicker Form.
Oof, yes.
Enchantment Aura.
That's one of my choices, by the way.
Is it? So, good. Okay, perfect.
I didn't even give you a cue. Well, you know what?
It's okay. It's fine. I see how it is.
I got too excited about it.
I mean, it's a very good card, so it's fair.
Well, how about this? I'll read the text itself. You read the outside form of it, so you don't have to do the hard work. Go ahead and just give me the details, the basics.
The basics?
Yeah, just mana cost, where it came from.
All right, so Flicker Form. Yeah, Flicker Form, 2 mana, one generic and a white, Enchantment Aura, and an enchant creature, and it came from, I guess, like, what is that, a Commander deck?
That is from
Commander 13, I think?
2014. It's a Prosh one. It's the second Commander sets that came out.
And
I think it came in
I don't think it has been reprinted since, has it? Other than in maybe one of the anthologies?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking at Commander 2013, I believe. Either way.
Yeah. Yes.
Anyways, wonderful card. So it's an enchant creature, and it has for 2 colors, 2 white, exile enchanted creature, and all auras attached to it at the beginning of the next end step. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you do, return the other cards exiled this way to the battlefield under their owner's control attached to that creature. Good gravy. If you ever wanted to dodge anything that could ever happen to your commander, done deal.
Well, this is like
people can't do anything about it.
This is a static Teferi's protection for your commander, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful in this deck. And I know a lot of VOLTRON decks run equipments and the jazz, but in this deck that's running mostly auras, holy shenanigans. Woo! Anybody's turn, at instant speed, hold 4 mana up, and everybody's going to go, well, I guess I won't waste my removal spell on that.
Yeah,
I don't even have anything else to say about it.
Very strong.
Is so good. It's so good.
It is a card I have in my Hazazon Tamar deck that I'm putting together that I'm thinking is going to do work in it, but
and it's only a dollar, right? Not even
it's only $1.
Yeah. I think to your favor in this deck, at $1, like... Yeah, you can't use this in every deck. You know, we'd call it sweaty in a lot of decks, but in this deck, it is greasy as can be.
Yeah, it rocks. Well, perfect. Well, I am not sharing with you guys with that, but I am talking about another white enchantment, which I know doesn't narrow down, that is over twice as much as this is, and I'm not sure why, but Uril's going to die a lot. And you want to have ways to protect him as much as you can, right? Mm-hmm. Even if it's a simple aura or a group of them. So why not give him a gift? Mm-hmm. A simple gift. It's so simple. Mm-hmm. But it's a gift of immortality.
Oh, love this card. Love this card.
2 colors and a white for an enchantment or an enchant creature. When an enchant creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Return gift of immortality to the battlefield. Attach that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So... This card to me is effectively, we've talked a lot about on the podcast about modes and modal cards, right? Mm-hmm. To me, this is a perfect modal card for this deck because it's really going to ask the question of how do I want to burn my resources? Do I want to burn enchantment removal, which is at a premium on this enchantment, thinking that I may not have the next answer for the next horrible thing that you're going to drop down, right, which they are, again, 30 of in this deck? Or do I want to take the risk and think that this is the worst, right? Is this the time to burn the Swords to Plowshares, or do I want to keep him around until he starts attacking someone else? Is he going to be able to have some sort of sack effect? Is he going to be able to run it under somebody? For the amount of mana that you're paying into this, you get so much insane value back to it. And now, especially with the, well, I guess, so, okay. Riddle me this, Bevers.
Ooh, I like that. Riddle me this, Bevers. Instead of Batman, that's good.
So, when it dies... Oh, never mind. Sorry, I was thinking way too complex on this, because I was like, if it dies, I go to the command zone. I'm a mess. But anyways, yeah, Gifted Immortality, it's $2. This card was 30 cents when I got it, so if you were looking to build a Voltron deck, probably want to pick one of these up like now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
Even I use this outside of Voltron. I use this in Reese.
Yeah.
Hashtag shameless plug.
This card's a great enchantment. Yeah.
You know, this is Reese's 274th card that I put in there. You know, it's a rolling table, but in that deck or any deck where your commander's super centric, like we've been talking about for the last month, if you're playing white, slam dunk.
Yeah. So
enchantment removal's hard, and even if they remove this, they have to have a second removal spell to get rid of your commander, or they have to be in cahoots with somebody else on the table to say, I'll get rid of that if you get rid of the commander after I get rid of that, because that's all I got.
So, Mr. Bevers, if you're playing against someone and they play Gift of Immortality, how would you advise them to deal with it?
Scoop.
Well, so Gift of Immortality doesn't play around exile effects.
Correct.
So, you know, your Path to Exile, your Swords of Plowshares, things like that, we'll get rid of it without any problem.
Sure.
If you don't have access to an exile effect, absolutely get rid of the enchantment before anything else.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now let's say that you had Gift of Immortality and then you paid, you know, a card we recently talked about, 2 colorless and 2 white, and then you just kind of bounce it. Good luck.
Whoops. Yeah. Good luck.
All right. Well, this goes back to Mr. Big Squee, MBS, if you will. What is your second and last hop card?
All right. So there's a card, you know, I had to talk about. We've talked about it. It's the best removal spell in the game. By far. It's green. It's an aura. It's a rare. Hasn't been reprinted much, if at all. We're talking Song of the fucking Dryads. What a card. What a goddamn card. I know you're not playing this on anything that you have on the board, but the 2 colorless and a green for an enchantment aura that turns any permanent, I said any permanent, into a forest. Wow. You can't get board wiped. You can't do anything. You just turn it into a land. So unless somebody's running enchantment destruction and or land destruction, which are the 2 rarest forms of destruction in all of Magic, you just shut somebody's commander down really, really hard.
So here's my question.
They can't even sack it. They can't even say they had a sack outlet for their creature. They just have to sit it there and tap it for a green mana.
Here's my only question. Is that all that the card says?
No, it's not. And I hadn't gotten there yet. But few who encounter the strange, human-like grove leave once the... Why are all these flavor texts that I choose terrible? All right, I'm going to read that again. I don't like this at all. Few who encounter the strange, human-like grove that once the lilting chorus of the Dryads reach their ears. That doesn't even make sense. Whatever.
Okay, so I will reread it, and maybe this will help you. Few who encounter the strange, human-like grove leave once the lilting chorus of the Dryads reaches their ears.
See, what I'm having trouble with is where they put their commas in here. They're all fucked up.
The comma's in the wrong place.
The comma's right after the strange, and you put a comma right after grove, leave once, and then pause. But there is no pause there. You got to plow through that thing.
That is weird. I don't think that comment is pointing in the right place.
Yeah.
But Mr. Bevers, have you had the chance to play this card yet?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh,
Nice.
And like this card is in multiple of my green decks because of how powerful it is.
Oh, this is a
It's
staple in green,
bonkers.
if you ask me.
Yeah,
It's a
100%. Yeah.
I
If you
mean,
can afford
at
it, it's
$12,
$11.
I hope so, right?
I wish
Yeah.
Mr. Combo was here to tell you how many times a Song of the Dryads his commander the moment
yeah.
he played it.
I can imagine. I can just hear the salt in his voice.
Oh yeah, dude. It's
yeah.
it's like the Dead Sea kind of salt. It's
Everyone's floating. We all float down here, baby. Just come and join the grove. All right, Mr. Bevs, your second and last top card to discuss.
Yeah, so this one, of course, for me, this is just a mad staple, in my opinion, in any kind of Voltron deck, especially, when you're dealing with Commander multiplayer formats. I'm, of course, speaking of this white card that is a sorcery, and that is, of course, Divine Reckoning.
Yeah, baby, it's good.
This card is just so good in Voltron. It's absurd. Each player chooses a creature they control and then destroys the rest. So... And it has flashback. Yeah, don't forget the flashback part. Yes, exactly. So for 4 mana, it's basically just a better Wrath of God for you because you don't blow up your own thing. Since you most likely only have your commander. And yes, it leaves your opponents with one creature or probably their best creature. But when you're playing Voltron and your creature is probably much bigger and beefier than whatever they have, it doesn't matter what they keep. It most likely doesn't matter what they keep.
And the moment they get back on their feet, you just do it again.
Exactly. At the moment they're like, my board state is back in place. Flashback. Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I forgot that card had flashback. But don't forget also, the card has some flavor text, and that is, of course...
Thank you!
Survival of the Purest.
I like it because it's...
Look, I need you to put a comma at the end of the sentence and after the of, and then read it again.
Survival of the Purest.
Right.
There, is that better?
I like it.
That's how
I like the way you read it, where it's like it sounds like it's kind of like a downer. It sounds like it's kind of like a downer thing, like survival of the purest, but it's also like positive, right? Like all those zombies got their heads blown up.
That's right. It's just such a good card. I can't speak of it highly enough in Voltron. Let's be honest.
Oh, absolutely. I ran this in my Akiri deck just because, you stack up Akiri, wipe everybody else out, swing over, around, through, whatever you need to do.
40 cents. It's 40 cents.
I think, and I think like it's easy to think this is like Voltron, but I can also see this being in a deck that like its commander matters. Like I don't care what creatures I have on the board, I just need my commander. So I'm gonna take a situation. I'm gonna take an easy board wipe that's not even situational for me either, just so I can have my commander here and keep going as the way I want.
And this is the thing, right? Run it instead of Wrath of God. Wrath of God is what, like a $6 or $7 card now. If you're on a budget, this is a budget Wrath of God.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Nice. Well, I'm a big fan of that. And if you need one, I got one sitting around. But I am actually talking about a card that is a little bit more expensive, but is a common. This is, I would wager to guess, probably one of the best enchantments in the deck for your boy Uril. So we want to talk about Shield of the Oversoul. Holy cow. So 2 colorless hybrid.
Shadow Spear. Look at that.
Yeah, your boys.
Sorry, Shadow Moor, not Shadow Spear. Good lord.
Yes. 2 colorless and Selesnya hybrid, which is green or white. It's an enchantment aura, enchant creature. It's a common. As long as enchanted creature is green, check. It gets +1/+1 is indestructible. As long as enchanted creature is white, also check. It gets +1/+1 and has flying, and it's $2.17. For 3 mana, you are pumping Uril by 4 because he gets his own pump. He becomes flying and indestructible and hexproof. It's unreal for 3 mana to do it. All like we've talked about this, where most of these, I think there's 5 of these kind of rigmaroles where it's the 2 colorless and hybrid. This and the Zorius ones are especially backbreaking.
The Steel of the Godhead or whatever.
Yes, which is brutal. But just the fact that for 3 mana, and I think that I mean, the reason why this card's still $2 is because it hasn't been printed in forever. But just the fact that it eliminates all of the issues that you want, because Uril doesn't have built-in evasion, check, and Uril doesn't have built-in protection outside of hexproof, which is still pretty good. Right. So now he can't be targeted, he can't be blown up, and they have to waste a removal spell that is going to be precious on a enchantment that you have other ones that will do the same thing, just less sweatily.
Yep.
Or less greasy, I guess.
Yep. Now I want to bring up a point here. I mean, Squee, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, please.
How dare you?
Just a quick question for both of you, I guess. And you know what, Squee, you go ahead, and then I'll ask my question, because my question is to both of you. So,
my question to my own self is very simple.
Why isn't this in Reese?
Exactly. Why the
Reese is because Reese doesn't attack ever. They never attack
for being indestructible. Super fucking useful.
It sure is.
You've lost your damn mind.
So this
Do you know
my
how many
question.
times I've been -1/-1 on all my creatures and Reese dies too? You know how many times that I've been indestructible board wiped and Reese dies too, and then I got to play it for the 5th time? This card,
right? But if you lose to a board wipe that's a -1/-1 and kills all your creatures, Reese isn't going to help you back out of that.
I disagree. If Reese is already on the board and I don't have to waste a turn getting him out there with summoning sickness, and then I can start making tokens again with, say, a token
because
doubler,
Reese will be
like
3/3 with
any
this,
of the
right?
multiple token doublers I have as enchantments that won't get wiped. I can put 2 to 4 creatures out a turn, untap it again, do it again. Trust me.
Whatever.
279. Here we are.
So this leads me to my question for both of you about this card, and that is, take a look at it and tell me whether you think those things are in the right color pie.
Indestructible, definitely not.
And flying on white?
Flying? Definitely not.
Neither of those things are in the right color pie, in my opinion. How this card came to exist, I have no idea, but here we are.
Going
back to the news from Tuesday, this set may be the best set that was ever created. It's a wonderful place to be. It has all these hybrid mana cards. It's beautiful.
The white I can see.
The white is close. I'll give you that. There are a lot of
angels and spirits and horses and Pegasi and white.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Indestructible in green, though?
I mean, Predator Ooze. There you go.
I have one example. One example of a mono green creature that's indestructible.
It's an all-star. I was just talking about with Murph from Joplin.
Predator Ooze is a great card. I agree with you.
It doesn't belong in this deck,
that's a question. Maybe should Predator Ooze be in this deck? Maybe, I don't know.
No, wait.
Why not?
Back. So the deck's a Uril on the face, but it's really just a backup commander of Predator Ooze Voltron.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. Why not? All right. Let's get out of this nightmare that is the hops and move into something that's more manageable and probably doesn't have something that Squee is going to attempt to force into bringing up yeast for the umpteenth time.
Oh, guaranteed. There's white cards in here.
We all understand that. Let's get into the yeast. How does this deck win the game? It's interesting to note that a lot of the cards in the hops also kind of feed into the yeast. But with that, with the deck as is, Mr. Bevers, the floor is yours. What is the first yeast card you want to talk about in Uril? My name is Uril.
So, I mean, for me, it's hard. So, when you first asked me to do this, there were 2 things that I picked as like the probably the biggest yeast contributors to this deck.
Let me pause. I'm going to pause you right there. In reality, when I asked you to do this, the first 2 things you said were, and I quote, "F you." So that was nice.
I don't remember saying that.
I'm just teasing. You're way too nice to have those sort of things, but I couldn't help myself.
That's fair. So,
all right. So two cards.
So then my first choice is going to be essentially the alternate win con of this deck to Uril. Is if you can't go VOLTRON for whatever reason, say people are just finding too many ways to remove you or whatever, or who knows, maybe they have their own copies of Ghostly Prison and propaganda and nonsense. It's an enchantment.
Oh, damn it.
It's an enchantment. It costs 5.
Okay. No,
It's
you're
white.
free and clear there.
right? And it's Sigil of the Empty Throne. Okay?
Damn it!
This card is just broken in this deck because if you can stick it on the table, it just makes so many angels all the time.
I love it.
It is absurd. So this is the alternate win con of not being able to go Voltron, and instead you go wide.
Yep. And what does Sigil of the Empty Throne do? And
so I've got to read
card?
it. Hold on, I didn't even have it open here. Hold on. So Sigil of the Empty Throne is 3 generic white. It is whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying, and it says, when Asha left Bant, she ensured that the world would have protection and order in her absence.
Yes. 60 cents. This used to be like a $6 card. Yeah.
What a card. So I know you didn't want me to do it, but damn it if I can't tie this one back to Reese. So let's go ahead and try. Oh man. If this isn't the aura
now, Squee,
version of Divine Visitation, I don't know what to tell you.
Now, Squee, I'm just going to point out here, I'm just going to point this out. This is not, and maybe I understand how you can get confused. We've done a lot of different things. So this is, my name is Uril, not Reese, whatever your sub name is of it. Deck Tech. I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
No, I'm well aware of that.
Okay,
and,
cool.
I'm also well aware of that this is Brews and Builds and not Reese and Builds. And
I'm just trying to make sure.
And not Reese's updates.
It's a crazy wild world out there. And
you know
to
what?
be honest, I'm scared. All right, I said I'm scared.
Good.
I just point taken. This is
not a Reese card.
That we
this
can
will
have
not
together.
be card number 280 in Reese. However, it pairs very well as the aura version of Divine Visitation. So this card does what Divine Visitation does for my deck in Reese for your deck on auras. You get 4/4 white angels and they wreck everything.
Yeah.
Anytime I've played that card in Reese, and I would assume it's the same in here, anytime you play this card in here, everybody goes, oh, good lord.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 4/4 flyers going on here, and this is a
remove on site.
Or kill on site.
Absolutely. Yeah, this card's great. This card's great.
All right, yeah, nothing to disagree with there.
Believe me, this is not the last time I'm going to talk about Reese. I promise.
MBS. What do you got next, sir? Your first Yeast card.
I wanted to talk about a little card. It's green. It's an enchantment aura. Costs 4. It's a rare.
Now, okay, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
As discussed on 2 band practices ago, is this the role that I would potentially play in the gay community?
Absolutely.
And here we go.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bear
There we go. As we've established, Big Tuck is the green bear in this one. So I'll go ahead and read the details. And since you're such a stickler for flavor text, you get to read this one, motherfucker. Bear Umbra, 2 colorless, 2 green, enchantment aura, and it's a rare.
$10?
$10.
What?
Yep.
This was like 20, then it was 3.
Existential crisis
now it's
for those
10
playing
again?
home game.
Damn it! Why? Totem armor. You son of a bitch. Bear Umbra is an enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2, and really +4/+4. We haven't really been talking about that. And then whenever this creature attacks, untap all lands you control and has totem armor. If enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura.
Oh my sweet baby Jesus.
Lord.
That is all that you could ever ask for. What an aura.
Damn it! $10 again?
Do you think it should be more or less?
Less! This should be a $3 card!
Well, don't wait a couple of years. It might be 20, might be 30.
Oh my gosh.
Who knows? If they don't reprint it, it could be 100.
I think it wasn't it more than $10 at one point? I think
it was a ton. It was a ton.
Yeah,
it was like 25.
Yeah, this has been around a while, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. So now that I'm done with that,
now that you've leveled out a bit.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This was up to like $15 back when Battle Bond came out.
God.
Wow. What a card, though.
Yeah. Okay. Now, okay.
For totem armor,
Yeah.
when it gets damaged, you just get rid of the aura, which I'm sure there's ways to deal with that.
And as Tuck said too, like I mean, it actually gives +4/+4, not +2/+2, which we haven't really been talking about too much. But
it's so strong. It's so strong. Man.
And I mean, like as you've seen throughout, as we've talked about the grains and the hops and so forth, there's a lot of stuff in the deck that deals with casting more enchantments. So if you get to untap your lands, that's more card draw, most likely, more life gain.
And then
we're talking about second main phase, baby.
If you do like the Rube Goldberg machine, you have your SRAM, casting enchantments, drawing cards, untapping, having more.
You got it.
And keeping that chain rolling.
Why not, right?
Oh, what a beautiful card.
I almost want to ask something that may be unprecedented, but I would like to go again for my second card.
You want to go second?
No, I want to go again, back to back, because I think it works with this card really well.
Fire when ready.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're about to talk about. And
I'm talking about a red enchantment. Cost 3. Could be a rare. Maybe it could, I won't say the actual term, but it could get people escalated or, there's laws against this type of thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Bevers, is this yours as well?
It's not mine, no, but
okay. All right. Well, I'm talking about aggravated assault.
Yeah.
So
I didn't even think about that.
You put this out, you put Bear Umbra on your guy. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Who doesn't want to just untap?
Playing the home game. Aggravated Assault. It's 2 colorless and a red. It's an enchantment. It's a rare. It is 3 colorless and 2 red. Untap all creatures you control after this phase. There is an additional combat phase followed by an additional main phase. Please play this over and over and over again.
So I have a weird. What do you call it, Squee? Your little your spec.
Prospecting.
Okay, so there is a Magic product that is completely forgotten called Explorers of Ixalan.
I have it. It's right over there. You want me to go get it?
Do you have it is it unopened?
It's still sealed.
Do you want to ship it to me for free?
For free? What? No.
All right. Well, anyway,
that's what Big Tuck does. He's like, "Hey, can I get a bite of that, or can I?"
Yeah, I want a nibble. Just taste. I just want to taste.
Yeah, just a little bit.
In that Explorers of Ixalan box, there is both a Time Warp and an Aggravated Assault, along with all the other cards that come with it. And currently on redacted internet site that sometimes end in .ca, I think.
Don't know where you're going with that one.
Isn't there Amazon.ca?
Yes, that is correct, yes. But it could be any number of websites that you were talking about.
Well,
that's why I was just like...
There are country codes for a lot of websites.
Okay, go on. On redacted internet reseller, you can get it for $48, which I'm pretty sure between Aggravated Assault and Temporal and Time Warp itself almost covers the
very much
cost.
worth it, yes.
Yeah.
So I gotta go ahead and put that in my cart. But yes, Aggravated Assault is a banger. Have you, in your 3 games played this deck, have you been able to do this sort of rigmarole Rube Goldberg machine?
Never.
I want it for you. I want it for you.
I haven't even
so
cast
badly.
Aggravated Assault. I haven't even cast it. But then again, like I said, I've only played 3 times, right? So
Yep.
It'll take a few more, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a combo that I didn't even see when I was putting this list in here into the Bear Umbra with Aggravated Assault. Just like, hey, let me just untap all of my lands and just keep attacking you.
Bear Umbra is one of my choices of yeast, and I didn't piece that together myself.
Right? There you go.
Because my brain doesn't.
Mr. Big Squee hitting everybody with a little bit of knowledge.
There it is.
I don't always talk in the brews and builds, but sometimes I fill in the shoes for Mr. Combo himself.
Yes.
There it is.
Shoes they are. All right, Mr. Bevers.
Okay. My last piece of yeast, right? That's what you want here?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, piece of yeast. That sounds...
little tiny nugget of my living self, right?
Yeah.
So this is red as well, and it costs 5. Are we doing this? Is that what's happening?
Oh,
and it's a sorcery. It's a sorcery.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
3,
All right. Are you ready? Okay, let's do it. It's obviously Chandra's Ignition. Yeah!
Woo! Yeah!
This card is so good.
Bonkers,
Holy moly.
bonks.
This card is great in Voltron, especially in the aspect of like Uril getting just bigger the more enchantments you put on him. So Chandra's Ignition is a 3-mana or a 5-mana sorcery, 3 generic red that says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. And Big Tuck, what does the flavor text say?
Oh, I don't mind if I do. In the moment before her execution, she realized what it meant to be a pyromancer, to be alive, to be Chandra.
Wow.
All right. There it is.
Yeah,
like so this card is just
I did a lot of screaming on the golf course, so
bonkers. This card is so good. I have not managed to kill an entire pod with this card yet, but I definitely killed somebody in a pod with this card. So
the fact that
my question is, how is this only $5? I think this is way better than a $5 card.
This used to be $1.
You can run this in anything that has red and any other stompy whatever the counter decks, like 1/1 counters, Voltron, all of it.
And the kicker especially, and I think this is where recently I was playing my Prosh deck, which I don't play that much anymore because it's Prosh and it's, whatever. But I had a free tutor and I completely forgot that this was in the deck because I think the thing that people see when they read this card, they see it's damage to each opponent. So it's like, I'm going to do a one shot, I'm going to try to kill everyone, right? And then if I can't do it, then I'm not going to cast it. But the kicker is it's each other creature. So not only are you doing piles of damage to each opponent, most of which you probably, at least one of which you've already attacked or done some chip damage, or they were running off, so they got board wiped and someone else went into them. You're also board wiping and completely clearing the ground to double up on another person, right? So, I mean, if Uril is 10, let's say it, right? Or 20 or 12, you hit someone for 10, right? Then you do this rigmarole. They're down 20 that turn. Everyone else is down 20, and they have no board.
Yep.
Mr. Bevers looked like he was going crazy there for a second. Did you figure out some sort of secret hack?
Like, I don't know. Something just popped into my head, and I was like, holy moly, I need to put this in this deck now.
Which one?
Brash
to
Taunter.
put it in here?
Oh, yes. That's my pet card, baby. That would be the only spice in this thing.
Like, could you imagine fighting Brash Taunter into your own Uril and then just punching somebody for like 30 damage?
Yes.
Right? Yes. And then like you Chandra's Ignition, your Uril, and it hits Brash Taunter and it just murders somebody.
Oh, wow. Well, here we go.
Slam dunk.
Holy moly. I'm sorry. I digress.
Look,
it's okay.
Let's just talk about this card. I want to say something. The instances of each in the text of this card are egregious.
Yes. Yeah,
it's fair.
It really tracks, man. But yes, All-Star, so good in so many decks. But unfortunately, we now have to move on to the spice. Out of the East, and spices are things that kind of make the deck pop, and they're kind of fun. Now, you claim you have 12 spice cards in here.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So after a quick perusal, I think you might have maybe 4 spice cards in the deck.
Sure.
I'd throw a donut in there. I'd possibly throw a donut in there.
There is possible. But I will kick this one off with one that I do think is truly a spice. I don't think it's going to come back and kick you in the butt very often. But it does kind of warp the game a bit, and I don't think that this is something that people are going to let resolve. It also features one of my favorite legendary creatures, Tsavo Vesh, I think her name is, the spider gal. And we are going to go on a duel in Dueling Grounds. Colorless, green, white, enchantment. No more than one creature may attack each turn. No more than one creature may block each turn. It's a rare $6. You think you can stop me? Hissed Sabo. I think I can kill you replied Gerard. So again, slam
Sounds
dunk
like a
in
battle
this.
from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
Like
right.
Goku and Frieza.
A lot of cool stuff in this card, right? But it's like Silent Arbiter on a card. It's an enchantment, hard to remove in these colors. It feeds into all the other enchantment shenanigans they have. I think for me, the reason why I would put this into a spice, and playgroup dependent, right? Because sometimes, especially in our local playgroup, the days of creature heavy battlecruiser tokens swinging away at each other for the most part, Squee and myself not included, I've kind of gone bygone, and now it's like a lot of like Pillow Forte stacks, death and taxes, that sort of stuff, right? So this could also be a big boon to those other decks. However, if you are playing in more of an aggressive pod, this is something that's probably going to eat removal fairly quick, fairly often. But I think that's why it's kind of beautiful in its simplicity, right? It does what the deck wants. It prevents someone from steamrolling you with monsters and creatures and huge gold white board states. And if someone has to remove this using enchantment or like remove permanent removal, which we've all said is at a premium, they now have such fewer resources to deal with all these other completely busted things we've talked about. And I think that's why this card truly belongs in this spice package, because it deals with all these different areas, has a huge ceiling, has a fairly low floor, all that good stuff.
You know, I'd almost go to say that Invasion is like the set of Selesnya.
There's a lot out of it.
And there is a lot of Selesnya in that
cards
set.
of Selesnya in that deck. Aura Shards, if I recall correctly, is from that. There's a lot of great stuff in that set, and a lot of it's even in the uncommon slot that are still worth a lot of money.
Yeah, like Eldrami's Call, I think, is from that.
Is great. It's only been printed once.
Yeah,
which is a little bit surprising to me because I would assume it can't be on the reserve list, but yeah, this has got to be hot for a reprint because this card is fantastic. And in colors that, or at least a color pairing, because I can't say the green is, lower on the pie, but in this color pairing, you don't see a lot of effects like this outside of a couple of cards.
Ghostly Prison, that sort of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I like this, especially in any Voltron deck. This is great.
Good. All right, well, Mr. Bevers, you had 12 of them. Now you might only have 11. What are you choosing for that spice? That beautiful, beautiful spice.
So, I mean, for me, it's Sage's Reverie.
Okay.
This card is just absolutely bonkers in this deck. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people will see coming. So this is when it comes into play, you draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. So
I think that's the underlying text.
Yeah. You're basically going to draw probably 5, maybe more cards at this point is kind of the idea. And then not only that, but enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. So if you have
doesn't even have to be the one that it's on. Oh,
that's
God.
Right. So like if you've put enchantments on other people's creatures to like lock them down or whatever, this just it gets big real fast.
Riddle me this. Why is this card not a yeast?
So this is where I was kind of like, I didn't know whether it should go in yeast or spice because it could be a win con. You're absolutely right. But that's the same thing as like, I'm almost thinking like maybe Aggravated Assault should have been a spice and not a yeast because,
Well, yeah, right. And to your point, coming from the other side of it, the defense as opposed to the prosecution, there could be a lot of games where you draw this turn 1 off the top and you're like, okay, this is going to do something for me. You wait, and it's just a dead card in your hand for 4 that you can't do anything with through the entire game, right?
Sure. Well, yes and no, right? Because it does draw at least 1 card when you play it.
That's true.
You might need it.
Well, and so for 4 mana, the floor is for 4 mana, you draw a card and Uril gets +3/+3.
Which is at the end of the day not terrible for Uril, but like at the same time it's not the best, right? You're absolutely right. I think it's just one of those things. It's like, if you manage to throw this out late game after you've thrown some other enchantments out, people are not going to see this coming, and it's going to refill your hand. Yeah. Which, I mean, if you've looked at the rest of this deck, there is maybe a little bit of lack of card draw, right? Like there's especially for a deck that is green, right?
Right.
So there is a little lack of card draw in the entire deck list, which I think is why I think I like this card so much as a spice, because it's one of those things that they're not going to expect. It's 26 cents, so no one's going to expect it because nobody's playing it, right? Is the whole point.
Right?
Nobody's even heard of it. Nobody knows what this is.
That's my point, right? So
honestly, in Commander, unless you're playing an Aura deck, I assume outside of a few staples, everybody just goes, Auras are stupid, and as soon as they draw it out of a pack, they throw it into this bulk box, and they never look at it again. Like,
right?
They don't even know what it is.
Yep. Yeah, like when I read this card for the first time, I didn't even know it was in the deck. I was like, this is a card. This card does work if you have it late game. Right. My goodness. And I mean, like, even if you get it early game, like you said, cards. It's probably going to draw you at least 2 cards, I would think, even like on the floor, right? Like,
right.
Because I mean, you're not casting it on turn 4, right? Because you don't have Uril out until turn 5 at least anyway.
Right, and you're not going to cast it, even if you can cast it the same turn that you cast Uril, you're not going to do it because this is a waste. Then it's like a double board wipe. Yep. If only you could run that sweet, sweaty ley line of anticipation this deck to be able to flash it out before damage. All right.
Well, dive back into it.
Slam dunk there. All right, Squee, MBS, my partner, my man. What do you got to spice it up for us?
I struggled, guys. I really struggled.
What do you mean? There's 12 options. What is there to struggle with?
I could not find a spice in this deck. Couldn't find a one of them. So I took your spice package, as it were, and I chose what was from Invasion, which is hilariously expensive for an uncommon, which is much more expensive than your rare Dueling Grounds. I'm talking Sterling Grove.
Oh, yeah, that's bonkers.
Uncommon enchantment from Invasion. It costs a green and a white, and then it has all other enchantments you control can't be the target of spells or abilities. Seems pretty good. For 1 colorless, sacrifice Sterling Grove, search your library for an enchantment card, and reveal that card, shuffle your library, then put a card on top of it. I don't know. Could be pretty useful. Say, end of the game, you got 6 or 7 on the old commander there, and you want to search for the old Reverie, put it on top of the deck, slap it on the commander, and swing through for lethal. Yeah. Could be pretty decent. And in the meantime, all your shit is untouchable.
What? But again, so I agree, this card's amazing. It's also bizarre to me that like a card like this isn't on the reserve list only because it's not a rare, which is so stupid. And the reserve list is dumb.
Are there cards from Invasion on the reserve list?
I think so. Ooh,
I think Invasion's too new.
I guess it ended. Did it end with Weatherlight? Yeah. Well, anyways, okay. There are cards on the reserve list that are less powerful than this at rare.
For sure.
That?
For sure.
Oh, yes. So back to the same question though, but so Bevers, MB, a foreign correspondent. How did you land this in Spice?
The Sterling Grove? Mm-hmm. I landed it in Spice because of its first ability, but also its second ability, right? So like the combination of the two together makes this card very, very strong in this deck. It's a 2-mana enchantment that you can drop early on to essentially protect everything that you play once Uril's out on the board.
Right.
And then the fact that you can pay 1 and sack it to go and get literally any enchantment from your deck and put it on top is pretty awesome, because the chances are you're going to go and get whatever you need to, either finish someone off or finish the game, right?
So did you, when you were doing your Spice, this is just more of a question to hold into my heart, if you will. Did you put things into Spice that you couldn't clearly organize into one of the other slots?
Sort of, yes.
Okay, cool. Because we've had this discussion before on the podcast where, like, for example, a Planeswalker, its plus is a grain, its minus is a spice, its minus is a hops, and its ultimate is a yeast.
Right.
So where do you put it in? And I kind of like that. I kind of like this now, because we used to say, what value of it did you get the most out of? Mm-hmm. But I kind of like this idea now, because recently we were running into an issue where we'll have 2 spice, 3 spice, 0 spice. And I think...
that's because decks are so targeted. Like this one. That's kind of where I was getting at with, like, this deck is so targeted that I don't believe there is a true like unreasonable spicy card that shouldn't be in there, but it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So no, Mr. Bevers, you might have warped this content creator in loose quotation his opinion.
Listen,
so
just go back to your normal show next week or whatever and see if you got some spice, and it might all fall back into place, right? Just beautiful.
Yes, it's all gonna work. It's gonna be beautiful. So with that, we are gonna end out the spice and move on to the bottle capping, where we talk about our personal cuts under $5, under $50, and under no budget, because it's a personal recommendation. Again, we are not talking about mana only lands. So I will kick this one off. And this is a card that we have cut a lot over the years and Brews and Builds. And I think one card in here that I'm not a huge fan of is going to be your old pal Swiftfoot Boots. So
Yeah.
Swiftfoot Boots are 2 colorless for an artifact equipment. It's a uncommon. It's colorless, and it's a colorless. Sorry, let me start over. Brain just reset. Swiftfoot Boots is 2 colorless for an artifact equipment. It's an uncommon for about $1.50. It has equipped creature has hexproof and haste, and equipped 1. There's great wisdom in rushing headlong into combat if you're prepared. Kenja, captain of the Thousand Swords. So the reason why I don't like this, and I think this falls into some VOLTRON deck arguments, is that Uril already has hexproof, so you don't need to worry about that. And there's a lot of other enchantments that can give him haste for 1. So by having Swiftfoot Boots, you're not giving him any bonuses or anything else. You're just it's pretty much just giving him haste that you can re-equip over and over and over again. But you're not drawing cards off it. You're not drawing. There's cards that you have where you pull stuff from your graveyard onto the battlefield. This drops off with Flicker Form, a bunch of that sort of thing. So for me, it's just like you already have Lightning Greaves, which is the better version of this, especially in this deck. So the one that I thought was interesting is Hot Off the Presses, and it kind of comes from the same idea of Voltron decks always suck because you kind of have to gang up on one person at one time, right? Mm-hmm. And there's certain cards that you have like Aggravated Assault and some other things in here that we didn't talk about that can kind of spread the love out a little bit. But my little baby lizard friend, Kedis, Emberclaw familiar, seems like he can solve a lot of those problems for you. So he is a legendary creature, elemental lizard, 1 colorless and red. He has partner, which is, very valuable in this deck. Kedis loves molten metals, searing flames, and head scratches. Oh, that's adorable.
I'm so upset because I also chose this and I just missed the cue. But
no way! Oh, damn it! I just
this card. Yeah, I agree with you. This card's an absolute banger.
So it's a 1/1. Whenever a commander you control deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent. Now, before you ding-dongs out there in the collective try to come out here and course correct me, I understand it's not combat damage. However, there is something to be said that if Uril is going to be dealing damage to the tune of 10,
15, 20, 30,
and I think
you do 30 damage to every player. Yeah.
And I think this kind of makes it interesting too, where it's like sometimes you can kind of get stuck in that rut with Voltron, in my experience, where someone's at 10, you're like, well, I guess I better attack him again at fault because I only need to get 11 more into him, so I'm shipping away.
Now you don't have to.
Right. It spreads the love out a little bit, and it only costs 2, and he's a little cute little lizard guy. So, Mr. Bevers, what do you think about the cut there?
Yeah, I think that's fine. The only thing I would say is that, I feel like I think it's a hard thing to discuss the difference between Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots when it comes to Uril, right? And the reason I say this is the problem with Lightning Greaves is Shroud.
The Shroud, yeah.
Yes.
And you just don't have the equipment to bounce back over.
Yeah. And when you're playing a Voltron deck like this, you can actually see what the creature count is. It's not very high, right?
Yeah.
The creature count in the deck is I think maybe 10 at most.
I think it's less than that, yeah.
Yeah, it might even be less than that.
Wait, actually, to your point, now that I'm thinking about it, I think you cut Lightning Greaves instead, right?
Yeah,
right.
That's what I'm saying. I think you would cut Lightning Greaves instead of Swiftfoot Boots just because It does the same effect. You would rather have hexproof than shroud anyway. And the only reason that you would want the artifact over, say, an enchantment or whatever is because it's a recurable haste. So if Uril dies, you can make him haste every time, as opposed to having to wait for an enchantment or a way to bring back the enchantment that you gave him that gave him haste, right?
I like that. I would definitely cut the Greaves. And what I chose to cut for this card, since we matched up, so I was going to cut Hyena Umbra. I think it's good.
Oh, man.
I don't think First Strike's worth it, really, because there's other effects in this deck. I feel like you're going to have some sort of recursion where the totem armor is going to be doubled up or tripled up or quadrupled up, even for that matter, in some fashion or another. So this card's good, but +1/+1 in First Strike to me is not going to be any better than what the creature's already going to be. So, I mean... Yeah, it's a little controversial, and I do agree with you. I think cutting the Greaves instead of the Hyena Umbra is probably a better move. But if I were to cut another card, I think the Umbra would be one of them that I would get rid of. It's cheap, it's easy to get onto the board, but by the time that you have enough mana to cast your commander, who cares if it costs 1 to play an enchantment aura? I'm sure you have mana to pay for it. And First Strike is probably the least attractive evergreen ability you could put on them.
True, but for 1 mana, you're getting +3/+3, First Strike, and a free board-wide protection. For 1 mana.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's multiple instances of board-wide protection, and I would assume you'd have one of those on here already. But no, I get where you're at, and I agree with you. I think the Greaves is a better cut.
Yes, over Swiftfoot Boots as well. I apologize. We are so used to playing commanders that don't care about things being attached to them that I immediately just cut Swiftfoot Boots and leave it Lightning Greaves. Yep. So that is my bad. So we have spoken, and we have bowed down to Kedis, Emberclaw Familiar, Mr. Bevers. Your first cut and your first ad.
My first cut and my first ad. So for me, it's gotta be messenger speed. I personally don't like this enchantment.
You're gonna cut this card?
Yeah. I'm gonna cut messenger speed.
Kind of the same point I just made. Yeah, I could see that. Correct. I could see that.
Wow.
Correct. So I'm gonna cut it because it does draw you a card, right? Or it doesn't even draw you a card. It gives trample and haste. So trample is good. I don't disagree with you there. Trample is very, very strong with Uril, right? Absolutely.
Correct.
I just think that there are probably better enchantments out there now for what you want to be doing with this deck. Personally. Okay. So I what I'm suggesting you put in for this is All That Glitters. So All That Glitters doesn't give you any invasion, but holy moly, does it make Uril a force to reckon with. It's just absurd. And it's a card that's missing from this deck. Now, maybe you cut something instead of messenger speed because you're too hung up on not having that trample. Fine, I get it. You do want to have trample, I'm sure, at some point. So, and All That Glitters doesn't give that to you, but All That Glitters needs to come in regardless of what you're removing for it.
It's just a beating. And what does it do for the home game and the home players? What does All That Glitters do for you?
All That Glitters is a 2-mana enchantment that is 1 generic and a white. It says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment that you control. And it says a fairy's glee at her trove quickly fades to contentment, then to boredom, then to an urge to steal more.
Now that is some flavor text for you.
See, that's flavor text I can get behind. None of this bullshit, wrong kind of commas, lame text.
The commas are in the right place on this one, that's for sure.
That's all we need. Yeah, All That Glitters is just a beating. Like this card is come on.
This card is so good, it's absurd. And it's only
absolutely agree with
72 cents.
you. And I think this is much better than haste, because honestly, you'll probably have other hasty ways to get going, and if you don't, it's not the end of the world if your commander sits on the board for a turn, because you're going to be able to drop enchantments, auras to protect it where it can get beefed up. And
I feel like I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. I think if messenger speed drew you a card in addition to the other things, it would you couldn't cut it, but because it doesn't. Sure.
And part of it is the way that I play too. Like a Voltron deck, everybody knows as soon as you play your commander, you're going to slap a whole bunch of shit onto it and swing out as soon as you goddamn can. Correct. And that card is just another red flag for people to kill it as soon as they can.
But see,
Whereas you can let your commander sit for a turn without haste, and it's going to be fine. You don't put anything on it. You hold like 4 or 5 of these 2, 3, 4, 1-drops, anything that you want. You put them all onto the board at the same time. You play them in the order where you put one on and then they're protected by the next one, they're protected by the next one, and you swing the hell out. And you kind of trip people up where you don't just plop your commander out, swing as fast as you can, and then everybody hates you out of the game.
So the trick, the trick I have with Messenger Speed is twofold. 1, it speeds the deck up. 2, it gives your commander a +2/+2 buff, and 3, can attack the turn it comes out. So the issue is when I played Uril, they swing in. I'm like, okay, cool, we'll chump it 1/1. All right, nothing doing there, right? Like
you need the evasion. You need the evasion,
right? And the fact that the Messenger Speed gives evasion, makes it attack, and gives it a buff for me has always been the all-star. Again,
here's my point though: the turn that you play Uril. You're probably not going to have a lot of mana out there, so you're not going to be putting a lot of stuff on Uril the turn that you play it. You may be able to put just that one Messenger Speed on there. It's not going to be a huge creature. The trample's not going to get you a lot.
Well, but if you play Uril and cast Messenger Speed on it, you have a 3-turn clock for anyone that has trample and haste and hexproof for 1 red mana.
I know how easy it is to get rid of anything on the board within 3 turns.
Well,
across 3 players, that's essentially 9 turns that somebody is going to kill it.
Well, and the other thing too is that, like, most likely with this deck and the way it is right now, you're probably not playing Uril and an enchantment the same turn.
Well, not the way it's built. Definitely not the way it's built now.
You're trying to get it out there and just build your board state, right?
Right.
If Uril has already died, sure, you might be playing him on like turn 7 or whatever, and you do have extra mana now, so you can drop an enchantment on him right away. Yeah. Sure. But the first time you play him, you're probably playing him for 5 mana, and that's probably the only mana you have on the table.
That's your turn. And you don't want to swing through with him for a small amount of damage because it's just going to piss somebody off.
8 commander damage is not a small amount of damage, in my opinion.
It's a lot. It's not
lethal. It will piss somebody off where they will ruin your day.
So
they will go out of their way to ruin your day because you hit them for 8 commander first before hitting
So what are they going to do? Swords of Plowshares or hexproof commander?
Assault is real. The Dead Sea. We're in it.
So they're going to board wipe because you hit them for 8 and then
they're going to make you sack a creature.
No, they're going to
You're playing black,
the hell out of you.
Do that. So anyways, Messenger Speed is out. All the glitters is in. We're moving under 50.
That's a tag team. I liked it.
So I am going to. I wish Commissioner Combo was here. He'd listen to reason. I can't believe I just said that either. What a nightmare.
I believe he is at the airport right now because the Discord's blowing up and Mr. Combo is very active. So I think he's.
Oh, he's just bored out of his brain. So okay. So on the same note, kind of along the same ideas here, I am actually going to cut for my under 50. I'm going to cut Asha's Favor. So 2 colorless and a white for an enchant creature. Enchant creature has flying, first strike, and vigilance. As his new wings lifted him high above Bont, Tarek felt his earthly aspirations transform into heavenly resolve. I think this kind of has the same argument where, for me, if you have an enchantment, it needs to have... I personally feel that the best enchantments in here have totem on them. Because it saves board wipes, which is the biggest way people are going to get rid of it. It doesn't really protect you from sacrifice, but outside of those two, those things can do it. First strike doesn't really matter. Flying is nice to have, but there's a lot of different ways to do evasion for a cheaper cost. And then vigilance is also good, but I think that if you develop this deck and to something that focuses a little bit more around serious safety, propaganda, those sort of things, you don't really need Uril as a blocker. So for me, this one didn't really do it, but... As May mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Totem Armor. And I think that your old gal pal, Umbra Mystic, is going to be helping out quite a bit in this regard. So Umbra Mystic is 2 colorless and a white for a creature, human wizard Harry. Auras attached to permanents you control have Totem Armor. If an enchanted permanent you control would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy an aura attached to it. I found the courage to face death.
That's real good.
Twice if I must. So I was like thinking about this a lot, and there's a gazillion rules on this, but my understanding is when it's dealt damage, you can choose one of the auras attached to it and sack it.
You pick one. Yeah.
So for me, this turns cards like Hyena Umbra. Well, that's a bad example, but like Rancor, for example.
Ash's Favor.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Even even all that glitters, if you will.
That's right. There you go. See,
into cards that
makes messenger speed way better.
You don't have to tell me that. So I've seen Umbra Mystic played in a lot of different Voltron enchantment decks, and every single time it comes out, it always feels good. Now, granted, you can make the argument that it's another creature that's just going to eat up a board wipe or eat up like a non-exile removal spell or whatever the case may be. But for me, for 3 mana, the upside on it is humongous, especially with the amount of low cross to the ground enchantments that you have.
Right.
Yeah, it's versatile. I like it. I can't argue with that one. You know, well played.
Seems good. Yeah.
I'm excited. All right, MBS.
All right, Mr. Big Squee just made a hot off the presses adjustment to my strategy here.
I do it all the time. It's my favorite move.
So I was going to cut Cultivate and put in a Bop, Birds of Paradise. I think it ramps faster. It gives you more color fixing. It's easy. It's good. It's great. It's wonderful. You know, no yelling on the bus, all that whole thing. Instead, I don't know what I'm going to cut for it because I was in a panic, but you have to, after we just talked about all of this, you have to have a Tarjuru Preserver. Spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents. That gets you around everything that's worried everybody thus far. Elf Shaman, you know me. 2/1, cost 2. Does have flavor text. Damn, that's small. No more blood shall be spilled. Satisfy another's defended lust for power. This card's a banger in here.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, this fixes... So once you get all your auras and enchantments onto your creatures, the only issue that you're ever going to have with your multiple ways around people trying to get rid of your stuff is sacrifice. This takes everything down to the only thing they can do is exile.
Yeah, and I guess I think if someone was a ding dong, their argument would be, well, then the sacrifice ability will just make you sacrifice this instead of Uril, and it's like,
yeah, that buys you a turn.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, if there's an enchantment that said, if there's a 2-drop enchantment that said, when an opponent forces you to sacrifice enchanted creature, you sacrifice this enchantment instead, you would run it like in a heartbeat in this deck.
Yeah. I think this card's absolute banger. I told you I'd do it again. This is in Reese. It's a wonderful card. Here we go.
Good God.
Had to, but
had to bring it up. Yeah, that's fair.
In this, honestly, though, this gives you one. It gives you another creature just to give you some flexibility on the board.
Yep.
And it protects you so well. And it's cheap. Well, like, not money wise. Well, it's a couple bucks.
Yeah, that's fine. All right,
it's cheap to play it out.
Mr. Bevers.
2 mana.
Mr. Bevers, you're under.
Am I under 50 cut? So, I mean, I'm gonna go with Heliod's Pilgrim here. I'm not a huge fan.
Really?
It's a 1/2 for 3. Yeah, it lets you search. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of it. It seems like it could be replaced by something much better. There are a fair number of ways to search artifacts out of your deck or enchantments out of your deck as it is right now. And I mean, if we're going to go up to the 50 mark, I mean, there's obviously a clear winner who searches your library for enchantments. But I'm not going to talk about that card because that wasn't my plan. I instead am going to put in a new card, which is Halvar, God of Battle.
Oh, you're just talking about this.
Yeah, so this is in the sideboard of the deck if you guys want to see. It's already there. But I basically put this in because this card is just absolutely bonkers. Okay?
Read her out. Read her out for the group.
Okay.
For those,
so it's 2 generic white, and it's a 4/4 legendary creature god that says creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double
Might
strike.
be relevant.
That might be
Double
relevant.
Strike is so good.
That
Double
might
strike
be
is
relevant.
so good.
And not only
Double
that,
strike
but
is
then
like my favorite evergreen ability of all
it
of
has
them.
more
It's
text.
so good.
It has more text. Don't worry. Let's get to the rest of this text because you're going to be like, what? At the beginning of each combat, you may attach target aura or equipment attached to a creature you control to target creature you control. So you can move your auras around however you like on everyone's turn.
Each
So
combat.
like just you have a
combat.
preserver out there, and somebody says you gotta. I'm gonna remove your charge. You preserver. You move an aura equipment just to protect it.
Yeah, that's what we
back
meant.
around. Then you move it back, and you attack, and you move it over. Yeah.
I've seen comparisons.
And then not only that, but it's also got a flip side, of course, because it's a god from Kaldheim.
Yeah, for sure.
And the flip side is I don't know how you read the flip side. There it is.
It's if you hover over the flip
Maybe
part.
how does it? Why? Hey, show me the flip side. There it is. Okay, Sword of the Realms, which is a 1 generic and a white or a legendary artifact equipment that says equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance. We talked about vigilance. It's not super relevant, but it is, not necessarily bad if you only have one creature that's just loaded up. You can at least then block with him still. Sure.
Yep.
But it says whenever creature
point, it's modal.
That's true. But the other part of the text on this card, which is also great for the equipment, is whenever a equipped creature dies, return it to its owner's hand. Oof. Wait, what's that? Want to get around your command tax? Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if I do.
Bang.
What's that?
Yes,
There's flavor text on this card?
It does have some flavor text. Yes, it says, it cuts through the cannon itself, carving new omen paths. What the heck is this?
I love what we're doing here today. We have picked all the most ridiculous flavor
tiny.
text.
Hold on, I got it.
Okay. It cuts through the canyon itself, carving new omen paths between the realms. There, that's better.
What the hell is an omen path?
Something Nordic. So I've seen comparison between this card and the new partner commander where you can attach all equipment to one thing. And I think in this deck, this is just significantly better.
Being able to move your auras on everyone else's combat is just absurd.
So good.
Well, double strike, there is like a double strike package you could get in this deck, right, across the board. But like with this card, you don't need it.
Well, yeah,
you just don't need it.
It turns so, like, for instance, if you have your Sigil of the Empty thrown out, and you have a few auras on a couple angels, now they all have double strike.
Yeah. Good, solid redundancy there.
Right? Like, just, all right. Yeah. And I think that, like, this card is just way stronger than Heliod's Pilgrim, right? Heliod's Pilgrim, you're going to play for 3 mana. This, you can play for 2 or play for 4, right? It's your choice, right? So, I mean...
Yeah. All right.
That's solid. I can't argue with that. I like that a lot. It has so many abilities. It's modal. You can do different things with it in different situations. And it protects not just your stuff because, as we've talked about ad nauseum now, your auras are going to protect the creature they're on, generally. And you can put it on different creatures that may be helping you at that time or whatever the case may be. It's super flexible, and I love that. And I think that's something that people get away from in Commander a little bit, is nowadays people's decks are so focused on one way or one strategy or one way to mill, search, combo out, do this thing, that if anything else happens, they are and this is a card type that I think people need to pay attention to, where there's other things like this that will help you in different scenarios. Maybe that got counterspelled and your combo's dead, but you need to survive for a turn or two so you can rebuild or something like that. This is a great card for that.
Yep.
Totally. All right, well, we're down to brass tacks. We are talking about under 50s that are the only restriction being no mana only lands. So I am going to cut a card that is a better manalith, but does not belong in this deck.
I'm not sure that exists, but sure.
You are running Darksteel Ingot in a deck that runs green. So Darksteel Ingot is 3 colorless for an artifact that's indestructible. Tap, add 1 mana of a color to your mana pool. It reflects the purity of Mirrodin that was from Koth of the Hammer. Look, dog, it's a no for me. Darksteel Ingot's fine in a lot of decks, but you do not care about artifacts, nor do you care about ramping because you run green. So I'm going to cut it for a card that does neither. But you have a card in here that kind of does aspects of this, but there's another backup to backup win con where after board wipes have resolved, after people have done their rigmaroles, you still have a resource that may have the tools that you need to win. That resource is your graveyard. You have stuff in here that manages this, but not as expensive as this. So we're cutting Darksteel Ingot for Replenish. 3 colorless and a white sorcery. Return all enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Auras with nothing to enchant remain in your graveyard. Treasures, trinket, trash. The relics of the past are brought forth again. It's by Jim Nelson, illustrated. It is part of Magic history, and it costs $120. However,
Yeah, you really brought out the stops on that one. Well done. Well done.
If you are a pro player, you can get a gold bordered version for a scant $25 reduce. So,
Big Tuck, you're never paying $25 for a gold bordered version of this. I guarantee it.
I have one better for you. I traded for one that I own from Single Aaron from Boston.
So you didn't pay for it. Got it.
No, I don't think I paid for it, but I would. If for the right deck, for this deck, I sure would. So, anyways, the point being is that at some point, Uril's going to die. All the enchantments that you have on him are going to be stacked into the graveyard, right? And if you have some that give haste, maybe redacted enchantment that we discussed,
or maybe not.
This is like kind of a one-shot kill, especially if it's down to one of you and one player. Everything rushes back out. If you stack it right, if they killed your the angel boy, the sigil of the empty throne, you can bring stuff out, stack it, make your army back again. This is kind of like a one-stop shop, late game potential winner.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great. That is something that needs to be talked about because, yeah, we are pie in the sky right now. You know, Commander's protected to the teeth, will never die, but we know it's going to die. At some point in time, somebody will figure out a way. It'll get exiled, it'll get killed, it'll get sacrificed. You don't have the right equipment, something could happen.
Exactly.
I think you do need a way to get back into that, and I'm glad you put it in no budget because, god damn, $120?
Let it run. Mr. Bevers, thoughts? I'm guessing you're not going to go out and buy one of these for this deck that someone gave you in a collection.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure. I don't know. So anyway, sorry. You're asking for my last cut? Is that what this is?
I was asking what you thought about Replenish for starters.
My opinion of Replenish? Replenish is a great card.
It's
I have the money. I would definitely put it in the deck. Like, what do you want from me?
Replenish? Yeah, it's good. What more do you want? All right.
I have nothing else to say other than it's a phenomenal card. Like,
all right. Well,
you're absolutely right. Like, it's just a win. It's just a win, like from out of nowhere card, right? So
yeah. All right, Mr. Bevers. I don't know. I had some. I don't know. I want MBS to tell me what's up. I want to hear this before yours.
I'm gonna do it. All right. So, you know I hate board wipes, so I'm cutting Wrath of God. It's fine. Sure. Whatever.
You got other ones. It's fine.
Yeah, you got other ones.
Yeah, that's true. Winds of Wrath.
Yeah, Winds of Wrath.
I'm talking a little guy named Xenago's God of Revels. So, colorless, a red, a green, legendary enchantment creature god. It's a mythic. It's a mythic. Has indestructible. As long as your devotion to red and green is less than 7 Xenagos isn't a creature at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gains haste and gets plus X until end of turn, where X is that creature's power. It's a 6/5 to boot just for fun. Good gravy. Yeah, screw that aura haste. This is the haste you want.
Yeah, probably.
I think it's great. If you replace Wrath of God with this, Wrath of God might save you once in a while, but every time you draw this card, it is pure gas onto the fire.
I have never seen this card be cast and not be terrifying.
I think in this Voltron deck, this would wreck. Because it's going to get +X on top of all the +X it already has.
+X.
Yeah. We'll just call this Xenagode God of Exponentials.
You stop that. You stop that right now.
I do what I can.
Oh my god. All right, Bevs.
All right,
Take
so
us home.
my last one was why did you know about our stipulation of not doing lands? So I'm gonna change my last one.
Okay, so now I did want to talk about Sarah Sanctum, but I had to get that one out of here. It's too easy.
Yeah. Well, also I was gonna cut Temple of the False Gods for Ancient Tomb because that's just an easy peasy.
I saw that.
Right? Like, holy moly, what a better card to play. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is I am gonna cut. So I'm torn between what to cut here with the aspect of I was thinking Wrath of God myself.
Okay.
But also I'm thinking about cutting Stasis Snare. Because it only gets rid of creatures. It doesn't get rid of permanents.
Sure.
Right. And so it's kind of like, it's a cute trick if they have a blocker that you don't want to deal with. Fine. Sure. But it only does one thing, and you flash it in, but unless you have some of your other components of the engine or the Rube Goldberg machine as we speak, it's just gonna give you a Stasis Snare and that's it. It's not gonna draw you a card. It's not gonna give you a life. Sure. It's not gonna increase Url's damage. It's not gonna do anything for you other than get rid of a blocker, right? One blocker. Right. And let's be honest, in Commander, getting rid of one blocker is not necessarily the answer you want. So, and
it's also not an aura, so it doesn't trigger a lot.
That's what I mean. It's like it's not triggering like
it's just a straight enchantment that gets rid of a creature for a while.
Exactly. And so it was a toss up between Stasis Snare and Oblivion Ring, and then I realized Oblivion Ring is any permanent, so I was like, okay, that's much better. So keep that, throw the Stasis Snare under the bus. Stasis Snare I think goes out, and I'm putting in, of course, the card we just talked about, which I can't not put that in just because of how cute it is now, and that is Brash Taunter. He has to go into deck.
Yes.
I want to put him in because I want that to work. I want that to be a
Taunter is my personal spice card. I put that in every deck I have that has red in it because, god damn it, why not?
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
Like, why not put it in, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, I know that we're on like the top end here.
It's a staple.
Of, like, I could put something super expensive in if I want it, but no way. Brash Taunter is the way to go.
I think it's better. I think it's
such a good card.
Hey, I'm not going on a limb here. I think this card's better than Replenish in the deck. Like,
I agree.
It could be.
Right?
It could be.
Like,
Brash Taunter is so good in almost any scenario. You could be playing the most streamlined deck and you put a Brash Taunter on the field, you're going to use it and it's going to be helpful. Guarantee
it's a good blocker. It's a good clear. You can clear stuff up. Yeah, I'm so glad you put this in here because I know that you were.
Plus Brash Taunter with all the auras and equipments and fun that you have.
Oh, it would be so fun to just put stuff on Brash Taunter. I would totally do it.
It's a secret. It's a secret Brash Taunter deck. But want to know what's not a secret? That we finally made it to the end of the episode. So thank you all for making it to the end. And as promised, here are some details about our giveaway by our sponsor, Level 1 Game Shop. We will be giving away a full art, extended art Planeswalkers. If you listened to the episodes before, you have the list. I don't on me, so you'll just have to be surprised.
This may be another scenario where you find the old Squeege McGeege on Twitter entering himself to see if he can win.
And you will understand and learn and be as excited as I will be when you enter, which is very simple. You can simply help promote the content we produce. You'll get an entry for all interactions you do with us on social media, and we will announce the winner on MTG Action 4 News on March 2nd, social media soon after. And yes, I and Mr. Combo know what you're thinking. We'll be doing a giveaway each and every month. Could be a sweet set of Planeswalkers like this, or perhaps it could be a basic island that I had in my mouth for a week. Really just depends on what our sponsor, Level 1 Gaming, provides to us. But hey,
it's a very curious scenario you brought
Just
up.
saying, I got a lot of these islands, and they look very delicious.
Your mouth is really wet, I see. Okay.
Hey, honestly, I do think I have an issue with that. I think I have a wet mouth. Like I was lighting a cigar at golf, and saliva was just like dripping out of my mouth while it's holding in my teeth. I think I probably have a problem. But hey, I'm also very hungry all the time. And also, please leave us feedback on your favorite consumption platform, whether it's YouTube, Stitcher, Smoke Signals, Messenger Pigeon. We like all those. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave some positive feedback and whatever star review you feel is applicable. If you didn't like it, just message Mr. Bevers and tell him to get it together and quit hopping on people that are clearly on a sinking ship. If you'd like to reach out to us individually and know where you can find us to enter to the contest, here's how you can do that. You can reach him, Mr. Combo number 5. That's all spelled out except for the 5 on Twitter. Where can you reach you, Mr. Big Tuck? Thank you, Mr. Big Tuck. You can reach me at Big Tuck on Twitter. Mr. Bevers, where can we find you, sir?
Mr._Bevers. There you go.
Excellent. He does awesome gameplays. We've somehow hoodwinked him into having me on the show several times in a row. Who's a fool in that situation? It's still Big Talk. Don't worry about it. And you can also reach CMD Tower at Twitter, at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. If you want to go to our website, you can go to Chandra's Ignition, Messenger Speed, Daybreak Coronet, Tower.com.
Well played.
Thank you. Squeed McGee, if people want to find out about how to get a hold of you for recording other purposes in the Kansas City area, how would they do that?
You know, I used to tell you that you could find me on Facebook or Instagram at Rich Chaos Records, but really, we all know where this is going. It's Dear Squee at cmdtower.com. Email's a wonderful format. I don't have to deal with tweets, the retweets, the comments of the retweets, the retweets of the retweets. I don't know what the hell's going on out there. Y'all are too busy. Email me. It's very succinct. Or send me something in the mail. If you can find my address, send it to me. I'm not going to tell it to you, but you know what? Out to the collective. Good luck.
If you can't find his address, he can handle all your audio needs and has a full studio if you are in the Kansas City metro area and want to record some music and or a podcast. If you want to support the show as well, hook up our sponsor with the orders you are already doing online. Head over to level1gameshop.com. When you place an order in the notes, just type out CMD Tower to let them know that you come from the collective. Outside of their own storefront, they also have a TCG store with over 99% accurate rating and incredibly competitive prices. As I mentioned, they have the best spots on the Shadow Spear in Kansas City. They also have the sweet CMD Tower playmat sleeves, as well as everything else
Shadow
that you need from an MTG and other game perspective. Another way you can support us is head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have several different reward tiers, from as simple as Discord access to even getting a guest spot on the podcast with your own sweet brew, as well as each tier gives you additional entries into the monthly giveaways and all that other swag. Finally, thank you very much, T Coates, for your efforts into editing this video, and to Pink Royal, RIP. So, Mr. Bevers, we've kept you hostage here for so long, and it's been
quite
so
hours.
sweet.
Yeah.
And apparently now I owe you money on Patreon?
Indeed.
Yeah, it's something like that. I heard it's like it's a new tier. It's about $200 a month.
I had to pay to bring my brew here. Oh man,
exactly.
Dude, we made you your own tier. It's the Mr. Bevers tier. It's $200, and we're going to collect that on the first of the month every month.
Did Mr. Combo not send over the 20-page long request for proposal documentation that outlines our contracting phase?
I probably just didn't read it.
That's fair.
No.
Well,
he sent it to me. I signed it as Mr. Bevers. It's no problem.
As we mentioned earlier, Mr. Combo
Mr. BS, right?
Yes.
As they mentioned earlier, Mr. Combo sometimes is functionally illiterate, even though I am the one who cannot wear glasses. So, Mr. Bevs.
Nor could anyone read flavor text.
My name is Uril. That's why I got refreshed from the name of it. We talked through it. We gave you some ups and downs. What are you thinking, walking out of this? Are you excited to play this again? Do you have some cuts in mind? Do you have kind of a theme?
I'm excited to actually dig into this deck a little farther and do some actual updating of it, because it definitely needs some it needs some TLC, and I look forward to running it again once I've done so.
Or a little help in this thing. I think this thing could be great.
Or is your
a little bit of help in there?
as your friend Kiro calls it, a few quality of life improvements.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Ural decks are very interesting to me because I've been playing for so long that I've seen a lot of different of them. And I think that there's kind of there's not a lot of room for deviation in them. You can't get like crazy with them, but I think that
as we saw with the spike or spice package.
Yeah, I think you have some cards in there that kind of make it interesting, right? And the fact that
the Brash Taunter will be a great goal for most people.
That's big.
Oh, dude, that is true spice to the core.
Yeah, like that one. And what was the other secret tech that this was? What was that? There's another card here where it's just secretly this card. But anyways, the sky's the limit. We've kept it here for so long. So thank you everyone for listening this long. And I am very excited to not have to host this again so I can get even more in the tank next week. Bye-bye.